but yeah, I also had tons of, personal experiences around that I was really questioning, like, what is the value of living in relationship to your body? Like on my website, if you enter my website, it's written like, you decide how you age, research your body, like kind of very clear message. And I do still stand behind it, but the more I'm living like this, I'm really trying to break it down. Like, what does it give us, all this body knowledge? What does it give us, this sensitivity to? Because, okay, you've mentioned the word ethics. Like, that's so like we can argue about it the whole night. Like, what is ethical? No,
maybe not. Do you know what is the?
Let's start.
Yeah, let's start very, very simple. Do you know what is the I think it's Hippocratic oath that the doctors take as soon as they start practicing medicine?
Not by heart, but my wife is coming from a doctor family, so kind of I'm quite familiar with that.
Somehow, the very first thing that they promise is, first, do no harm. It's as simple as that. So that's the first thing. Of course, in medicine is really difficult because you encounter a situation in that you're about to deliver a baby and then you need to decide if you save the life of the baby or the mom. It's extremely difficult where you don't do harm, and those decisions are very difficult. But I think this is a very simple starting point. And if in dance we start approaching that as a very basic initial ethical code, first, do no harm. First, do no harm to others or to yourself. Then we can start applying our work in order to improve the ethics of our context. So I don't think it's that big.
But before you mentioned something that, that I would argue that that would contradict it, because, like, and this is something that I feel that becomes more and more and more present within the politics that is present in dance circles, is that the notion of, my subjective experience is more relevant than anything else. So if I feel that what you did was something that harmed me, therefore it's objectively true that you harmed me. Even if your intention was not to harm me, if I perceive your touch as an improper cross of my boundary, that's it. That's the action that happened. And then how this notion of first do not harm can be applicable if the definition of harm is not in your hands, it's just in the hands of the one who is perceiving. And this becomes like super tricky to negotiate, because then, of course, I don't think that anybody, I would say that everybody who is kind of intuitively is like not psychopath and would agree that I don't want to harm anybody. Only crazy people, psychopath people will want to harm others. So of course it's a good base, but again, this subjectivity, and also what you said, like, if you experience it as a performance, there is a performance. How would you negotiate this tension? I find it very complicated. I would not agree that it's a simple thing, although I think that we can have a discussion on what will be a maybe more, like a better path to start talking about ethics and morality. But I think it's hyperly complicated.
It's very complicated, the application of it. I fully agree. And that you operate from a place, from an ethical place, doesn't mean that always your actions are going to be ethical. As you are saying, I might touch you in a way that I think is ethical, but I might get it wrong. And therefore, I believe that it's an education, it's a training, it's something that we need to develop. That's why I think dance comes in, because you don't take a class and everything is solved. It's something that you start learning. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I guess because I'm not super familiar with the contact improvisation. I practice it, but I'm not super into the community. But I guess that the people who has practiced for many years contact improvisation has an integrated knowledge of how the touch should be, how much weight you should give in order not to harm the other, how much you support that if you've developed your skills properly. Am I correct?
Yeah. I can argue. I can argue about anything. No, I'm kidding.
Me too.
I agree. I can agree with that. But I think that now you're looking at it as something that is like, I think it's much more measurable because we are talking about physicality. But like you mentioned, like, yeah, you said, like, I don't want to harm you. That's my intention. I don't want to harm you, but I touch you in a certain way that you perceive as harmful, and then you correct me, and then I accept, okay. But in many situations, our subjective experience can be completely disconnected from reality, and that's like that can happen for everybody. In everyone's life, you can find this example. And also, like, if I'm entering a space, let's say I'm entering a contact jam, let's take contact for example. I come to a first contact class in my life, and then somebody is suddenly touching me in an exercise. And for me, like, I don't know, touching my head is like very personal. And I'm like, hey, what the hell? I don't know you. What are you touching my head? And then somebody tells you, look, like, just focus on the weight, and like, it's not anything personal. We are just trying to, to get a sense of the physical weight of our head and to release it. And then it's like, okay, interesting. So now I can recorrect my own perspective of what is harmful for me. And especially if you talk about people who are not professionals, and most of the time, like, yeah, they don't have so much body knowledge and connection to the body. So they, like, I'm always giving the example of my father, which I don't want to sound like I'm ranting on him, but he's a farmer, and his posture is not like, he doesn't have a clear posture. So for him, when I tell him to straighten up, he experienced it like you going to a bridge. So it's like there's such a gap between what you experience subjectively, and that's something I'm struggling extremely, especially when you place yourself in a position that you have like power on people, like a teaching position, like you want to support people, and that you need to sometimes, harm them a little bit. And I'm saying harming, like putting them out of their comfort zone, putting them in a situation that, that they're on the border of their capacity to feel safe. And that could lead to harm, but it could also lead to grow. And it's such a challenging thing to address.
Yes. Two things about that. I fully agree with what you're saying, but when we were talking about developing your skills, as I said, I think dance is a great school of knowledge for you to develop this ethical knowledge, even if it's just in an integrated way that you don't realize. So the more you experience dance, I want to believe that the people who wants to learn, who wants to develop, will have the chance. There are some people, as you said, that because of the background knowledge or something like that they are close to do that. And we know people who has been involved in the dance world who has been continuously harming other people, but probably because their goal was not to use dance in order to develop that skill. Mine is. And the second thing that I was thinking when you were talking about that, I forgot what it was about. You were talking about the position.
The position of power when you're leading people.
Yes, the harm. I think we need to, it's very, 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 very important to make the differentiation of which harm it's pushing the boundaries in the way that you are breaking them. Therefore, the harm is permanent, or harm that it's necessary because by healing, it's a harm that actually what it does is shake, it doesn't break. And I'm going to give the example once again of the doctors. The doctors, it really poke our skin with a needle, and that is harming, in order to put something in our body that it will be better for us than if they wouldn't done it. So in sports, the very first principle is actually there is micro damage that you do through training. So you actually start breaking the muscles. For them, when you rest and digest the nutrients, actually the muscle grow in a way that it became stronger. However, if you push the boundaries to a way that damage, it is not micro tissue, but you ripped the fibers, that muscle doesn't work anymore. So as teachers, we have a huge responsibility of keep learning and developing how much we can push those boundaries of our students, and how we create a safe container for, of course, to create discomfort and getting them out of their comfort zone without pushing the boundaries to a moment that we break them and there is no way back. And I think that is the limit, the moment that there is no way back.
If you want to see more precious and insightful moments, make sure to check our short clips playlist. To see longer interviews, check out the full episode playlist just below it. And to be notified for all future videos, click the subscribe button and don't forget to hit the notification bell. See you on the next episode.